Yeah, interestingly, we are 2 days or 1 day out now to the opening round of the 2026 Masters, 90th overall. But Jim Nantz, Jack, he'll be the voice. Hello, friends. Jim Nantz will be the voice for the 40th time on CBS. 1986 was Jim Nantz's, he was a 26-year-old young broadcaster. And he got to be the voice on the Jack Nicklaus unbelievable Sunday in back nine, 65 to win it. And that was his first. Now Jim Nantz will have his 40th. And we're 1 day out. So that's one of the storylines to watch. But, the current sports book odds we were just talking about would, this is a I can't remember. Maybe you golf fans out there can't remember a more wide open Masters. I mean, going into last year, Rory was the favorite coming into it, and he won it, which was really cool. He and Scottie Scheffler were the odds favorites without a doubt. But right now, the sports books have Scottie Scheffler, the world number one, as the favorite, but just plus 500, which, that's even tough because Scottie hadn't played in a month. That's followed by Jon Rahm at plus 800, then Bryson DeChambeau, Rory McIlroy, Ludwig Oberg, Xander Schauffele, all between plus 1,000 and plus 1,500. But the world's number one is one of the top storylines. That's Scottie Scheffler. Inconceivable a month ago or 6 weeks ago that he wouldn't head into this Masters as the heavy favorite. But it's been a bizarre season so far. Those rough first rounds, the game is not as sharp. He's 80th in strokes gained from the fairway, which, he's led the world in that for the last 3 years on this incredible run Scottie is on. And he's just had another baby. He hasn't played. He withdrew from Houston to get ready for the birth of that child. So, again, no, it's not going to surprise anybody. We come in here on Monday and Scottie Scheffler has another green jacket. But at the same time, he's just not in the form we've seen him in. Can he find it? We'll see. That's a great storyline to watch. Also, a couple of bad backs, Jack. A couple of bad backs to watch. You've got the defending champion Rory McIlroy, who hosted the Champions Dinner last night. Did you hear him when somebody said, why didn't you have more Irish flavor and Irish fare on your meal menu? He said,
I want people to like it.
Yeah, I want to enjoy the meal too. I don't care. I want to have a good meal. So, no, I'm not going with the corned beef and cabbage. We're going to go with a real meal, which they had. But Rory McIlroy, he's had a bit of a bad back. He withdrew from the Arnold Palmer Invitational with a back, then underwhelmed, tied for 46 at the Players' Championship. And then there's Colin Morikawa, who's also been playing good, but he also, there's some that don't think he'll finish this. Even if he tries to play, he's been dealing with that back since back at Sawgrass, where he had to withdraw after a couple of holes. And he withdrew from the field down in San Antonio, where he was trying to test it out one more time this past week. So McIlroy, Morikawa, bad backs. Scheffler, an uneven game right now compared to what he's normally been. Then there's a guy I think you have to watch in this, Jack, and that's Bryson DeChambeau. Remember, you may forget, but Bryson DeChambeau played in the final pairing last April with Rory McIlroy. And he went on to shoot 3 over 75, finished tied for fifth. So he didn't, you almost forget about it. Rory was the story, but DeChambeau, he was right there. And, he's kind of figured out that course. He's won back-to-back live starts. If you're not watching the live tour, DeChambeau's won back-to-back that he's played in. One of those was a playoff win over Jon Rahm. So he seems to be in good form. And, Bryson DeChambeau at his best is as good as anybody in the world. And he was right there last year, and that's fueled him all off season. I would put Bryson DeChambeau pretty high on my picks. I really would. I think he has to be in that conversation. Jon Rahm, I would not have. Jon Rahm was the 2023 Masters champ, but of course, right after that, he defected to Live Golf, and we haven't seen much of Jon Rahm. He just, I don't know. This thing's not going great for him, but he's got the game. Does he have the emotions to handle this? Does he have the 4 rounds? Can he put that together? I'm not putting Jon Rahm very high on my list. Maybe you are, not me. There's also the question of Brooks Koepka. Jack, if Mr. Major, they call Brooks Koepka. He's won 5 major championships, but never the Masters. But he decided to leave Live Golf back in the first of the year. And he's returned to the PGA Tour. He was the first defector to jump back based on the criteria, and he's abiding by it. He has by no means lit it up since coming back from the Live, but 6 starts, shown flashes, had a tied for 13th at the Players. But anybody that knows golf knows when the majors are here and the toughest courses, the toughest conditions, the toughest fields, Brooks Koepka is right there. He's a 5-time major winner. But again, I don't think I'm putting him there until I see it. It's good that he's back, I think, for golf, and good for the PGA Tour. Same time, I'm not going with him. Then there's 3 or 4 guys that are seeking their first major, that are playing in great form. They're playing to a major level, but haven't won one. And that would be Tommy Fleetwood, Cameron Young, I would put on that. Ludwig Oberg, the Texas Tech Red Raider. And then Chris Gotterup is a guy that got off to a red-hot start and some think has the game. But I'm going to eliminate Gotterup because he's never played in this tournament. It's his inaugural Masters. History tells us if you're playing Augusta for the first time in championship play, it doesn't go good. Fuzzy Zeller was the last golfer to win in their first try. That was back in the late 70s. I'm not going with Chris Gotterup. But Tommy Fleetwood, Cam Young, Ludwig Oberg, I think they all have to be in your head space. Young was incredible last month at the Players, where he is currently ranked third in the world. Now, the Players is the fifth major, and he went and won that thing with the birdie at 17, birdie at 18. Cam Young was a Ryder Cup stalwart for the U.S. team. I think he's got to be in your mind's eye on that. I think Cameron Young has a chance to really do something special this weekend. Ludwig Oberg, remember, he was in command at the Players for 3 rounds, TPC Sawgrass, and didn't have a good Sunday. And that becomes the issue for Oberg. Can he finish? I'm not sure. He's got the game. He's got the iron play. He's a really beautiful golf swing, but I don't know. The headspace for him on Sundays, until we see it, there's no more pressure than you get at Augusta on a Sunday. So Oberg got the game. Does he have the mind? Cam Young has shown the game and the mind and the steely resolve it's going to take to win the Masters. If there's a non-major champion to win one for the first time, I would pick Cam Young. But don't sleep on Tommy Fleetwood. Tommy Fleetwood, come on, man, won his first PGA event. Finally got off the schneid last August with the win at the Players Champion at the what do we call it the Tour Championship. Won the FedEx Cup. Was just a witch in the Ryder Cup. I got to put Tommy Fleetwood in the conversation. Wouldn't surprise you, but again, I'm going with Cameron Young as a guy who's never won a major to if there's going to be a guy.
Dark horse?
Just he's got to be considered.
Yeah.
And then there's a name that probably is not on a lot of your bingo card, but it needs to be. And he's not a very liked guy. He's kind of a villain, but that's Patrick Reed. Patrick Reed went to Augusta College, Jack, in Augusta, Georgia. And Patrick Reed, like Brooks Koepka, left the LIV Tour and has accepted the PGA Tour's terms to return to the circuit. And he's now playing full-time on the DP World Tour, which is around the world. And not only is he playing, y'all, Patrick Reed's been playing excellent golf. He secured 2 wins in 6 starts. He's in contention every week on the DP World Tour. And he finished at Augusta, he finished 3rd last year. Rory was 1, Patrick Reed was 3rd. He loves this course. He's won on this course before. He's back and in good form. He has 5 top 12 showings and 7 starts at Augusta since 2018. Although he hadn't played since the middle of March, Reed must be considered a contender given his current form and history at that tournament. And again, that would be if it was like Scotty and Patrick Reed or Rory or Cameron Young, son-in-law of an Army colonel, pick Cameron Young against Patrick Reed. That would be kind of a good cop, bad cop, villain kind of thing on a Sunday. But those are my names. We'll take yours. I think Scotty Scheffler for sure. And it's pretty incredible. We're 10 minutes into this preview and haven't mentioned Jordan Spieth. And if you had told me that a few years ago or even a year ago that we'd be doing a full preview and Jordan Spieth's name would not even be in the conversation, that's pretty stunning because he's won a green jacket. He's been in contention. I remember my former radio partner Bucky Godbolt said he's going to win 5 or 6 Masters alone, and his game has just fallen apart, which is really, really unfortunate. But can't even put him in the conversation right now. But strange things happen for guys who have won that tournament before. And coming up a little bit later, Jack, I've got there are 5 criteria. You know, I like to do for March Madness and for this. There are 5 criteria that if you whittle them down, you end up with 6 golfers who, based on the last 10 years of history at the Masters, one of 6 golfers will win this tournament. Based on history, based on the numbers. And there are only 6 that rise to the 5 for 5 in the categories that matter, in the analytical opinion. And then we'll take your opinion. So there are 5. There are 6. And some of the names we just mentioned up in there and some that aren't in there. There's one other that you need to know about. So we'll get to all that coming up. We'll take your thoughts. 512-834-1027. Who you got for the Masters? Don't have a major contest this year. We're giving away our prizes for You Don't Know Jack now with our video, our game. But you can send me your picks. I'll take them. Let me know who you got. I just gave you my little layout. I think I'd have to put Cameron Young. I'm putting Scotty. It would be crazy not to put the world number 1 in there and Scotty Scheffler. He could certainly find form. Rory seems to be in good shape, but who's your favorite? Maybe it's Oberg. We'll take your favorite.